Hello students, today we are going to discuss the next part from the topic morphology of flowering plant. In our previous lecture we have seen what is meant by root, its characteristics, functions of the roots and the three types of roots. Those are taproot, fibrous root and the adventitious root. We have seen the mustard example of the taproot, wheat is an example of the fibrous root, and the grass, monstera and the banyan tree, these are the examples of the adventitious root. Okay, out of these three roots only the taproot develops from the radical part of the seed, while the fibrous root and the adventitious roots are developed from the other part of the plant. That means they do not develop from the radical of the seed. Then now we are going to discuss the next part from the root, that is the regions of the root. So here from this figure we will discuss the different regions of the root. So see here, overall there are three regions of the root. So this is the diagram of the root. Here these are the root hairs. Okay, so from this figure we'll see first the different labels of the figure. This is the root cap. This is the region of meristematic activity, or which we also call as the region of meristematic or the meristematic region. Above the meristematic region there is a region of elongation, and above the region of elongation there is a region of the maturation. So overall three regions you can observe in this diagram. Meristematic region, another name is region of meristematic activity, then region of elongation, and then the region of maturation. And from this region of maturation there is the formation of the root hairs. Okay, so from this region of maturation here you can observe this elongated part, and that is called as the root hairs. So if we observe this figure, then this is the apex part of the root and this is the base part. So number of time now discussing this region of root hair, we are discussing that this is the apex part and this is the base part of the root. So focus on this diagram, because when you understand the diagram then you can clearly get idea of the regions of the root. Okay, so here while discussing these regions of root, we will discuss the first part of the root, and that is called as the root cap. Okay, the first part of the root, that is the root cap. So in this diagram you can observe here it is a root cap. Now how we will discuss the root cap? Because we know that root is the underground part of the plant. It is present below the soil. Okay, when roots we observe inside the soil, the apex part of the root is present toward the soil, while the base part of the root is near to the ground, or it is very close to the soil surface. Okay, so this part is the upper part and this is the base part of the root. So here the root cap, which is the portion which is present at the apex of the root, म्हणजेच थोडक्यात मला तुम्हाला सांगावं लागेल की रूटचं टोक जे शेवटचं जे खाली तुम्हाला सॉइल मध्ये लास्ट पार्ट पण गेलेलं पाहायला मिळतं, दॅट इज द अपेक्स. सो हियर वी विल डिस्क्राइब दॅट रूट कॅप इज दॅट पोर्शन which is present at the apex of root. It is present at the apex of the root. Here root cap is nothing but it is a structure. Name itself indicate it is a cap like structure. When we wear the cap on our head, that cap gives protection to our head. Like that, this root cap gives protection to the apex part of the root. So by the meaning of the cap, we can say that this root cap is made up of many cells. That means it is a multicellular structure, and the main function of this root cap is that it gives protection to the root. So if we see its function, then we can say that it gives protection to apex of root. It gives protection to apex of root. Okay, so this is about the first point, that is the root cap. Then the next part is the region of meristematic activity. We can also say that it is the meristematic region. So second part is meristematic region. Second part is meristematic region. Now here we should know that meristematic region, where it is present on the plant, this region is only responsible for the division, because in that region there are the cells. So any part of the plant where you can observe the meristematic region, that is, it is those regions where the cells of that region continuously divide and redivide, and that process we call it as a सेल डिव्हिजन. म्हणजेच मला सांगायचं आहे तुम्हाला की प्लांट मध्ये ज्या ज्या पार्टवर, आता हे आपण रूटचा पार्ट बघतोय म्हणून आपण इथे बघतोय मेरिस्टेमॅटिक रिजन, पण स्टेम असेल, लीव्ज असेल, कुठलाही प्लांटचा पार्ट असेल की जिथं आपण मेरिस्टेमॅटिक रिजन म्हणणार आहोत, त्या रिजन मध्ये तुम्हाला सेल जे पाहायला मिळणार आहेत ते सेल कंटिन्युअसली काय होत असतात, डिवाइड होत असतात. म्हणजे त्या ठिकाणी त्या सेलचा नंबर वाढत असतोय आणि त्या प्रोसेसला आपण म्हणतोय सेल डिव्हिजन. सो इन दिस रिजन ऑफ द मेरिस्टेमॅटिक रिजन ऑन द रूट देर आर द सेल्स which are thin wall having the dense protoplasm. म्हणजे या मेरिस्टेमॅटिक रिजन मध्ये जे काही सेल्स तुम्हाला पाहायला मिळणार आहेत, सपोज these are the cells which are present in the meristematic region. So this is the portion where we call as a region of meristematic activity, or in other word we can say that it is the meristematic region. And in this meristematic region there are the cells, and how these cells are looks, these cells are very thin wall, having very thin outer cell wall and dense protoplasm. Dense means भरीव, पॅक म्हणूया. प्रोटोप्लाझम म्हणजे काय, सेल युनिट ऑफ लाईफ मध्ये आपण शिकलेलो आहोत. Center nucleus is there, and outside the nucleus there is a cytoplasm is there. Inside the cytoplasm various cell organelles are there, and these cell organelles, that means this cytoplasm and the nucleus together called as protoplasm. In other words, all the content present inside the cell is called as protoplasm. So this region that we call as a region of meristematic, this region having the cell which has very thin cell wall, and their inside content or the protoplasm is the dense, म्हणजे तो पॅक असतो, भरीव असतो. So this is the characteristics of the cells which are present in this meristematic region, and these cells continuously divide and redivide. Suppose there are overall these 7 cells are there in the meristematic region. Suppose समजून घ्या तुम्ही, समजा तिथे 7 सेल असतील, 7 सेल असतील, these cells divide, and after division these 7 cells gets converted into 14 cell. Again this 14 cell divide, and again there is a number increase in that region. So cell division is the main function of this region. So here we can say that the meristematic region is responsible for the cell division. It is responsible for the cell division. The cells continuously divide in that region that we call as a meristematic region. Next to meristematic region, another region is there that is called as the region of elongation. Okay, this portion which we have shown in a diagram, it is called as the region of elongation. Then what is meant by region of elongation? So suppose, see here, above the meristematic region, the region of elongation is there, and in that region the cells which are present. So see here, if we see, these are the cells which are present in the region of elongation. This cell increase in size, shape, volume. So these cells increase in size, shape, volume, and they become like this elongated one. Okay, so the cell shape, size, volume changes and the cells become elongated one, and such a elongated cells you can observe in this region. That's why this region is called as the region of elongation, and this region of elongation is responsible for increase in the length of the root. Okay, these cells causes the or increases the length of the root. त्यामुळे रूटची जी लेंथ आहे, जी लांबी आपण म्हणू, जी वाढते, ती लांबी वाढण्यासाठी कोण रिस्पॉन्सिबल आहे? Cells which are present in the region of elongation. So the function of the cells or the function of the region of elongation is to increase the length of the root. So here we will write the third part of the regions of the roots, and it is the region of elongation. So third part is region of elongation. And why it is responsible or why it is important? It increase the length of root. So here we will write increase the length of root. So this is the function of this region of elongation, that is, it increase the length of the root. Now the fourth type is of the region of maturation. So fourth type of the root is region of maturation. Now what is mean by region of maturation? So first is the region of meristematic, second region of elongation, and then the region of maturation. So here we have seen that there are thin walled cells which are undergoes continuously process called as cell division. These cells from the cell division shifted here. Here this cell become elongated one, increase their size, shape and volume. Those cells are elongated. Those region is called as region of elongation, and those cells are responsible for increase in the length of the root. Now the cells which are present here, which are elongated one, they shifted upward in this region, and that cell differentiate and mature. Differentiate and mature means, differentiation means, as we know that in the plant cell form tissues, tissues form the organ. So all the cells from this region shifted here, and those cells differentiate, and they differentiate into different tissues. Like those differentiated cells form the different tissues. For example, simple tissue, permanent tissue, and those tissue later on form the different organ. So all the cells of the elongated region shifted here. Those cells mature first because they are newly formed here, they are younger one, but these cells when shifted in this region, that is called as the region of maturation. Those cells mature there, then those cells differentiate, and different group of cells are there which later on form the different tissues there. So this region is called as the region of maturation, and in this region of maturation you can observe there are hair-like thin branches are given. Those branches we have labeled it as the root hairs. Then what is mean by root hairs? So actually from the region of maturation you can observe hair-like branches or hair-like outgrowth. The name of that outgrowth are called as root hairs. So there are some cells in the region of maturation and the name of those cells are called as epidermal cell. So here some cells are there in the maturation region. Those cells are called as epidermal cell, and those epidermal cells shows outgrowth, and that outgrowth is called as the root hairs. So what is the function of these root hairs? So these root hairs are responsible for absorption of water and minerals from the soil. So here from the region of maturation you can observe the root hairs. Okay, and the function of root hairs is the absorption of water and minerals. Because we have seen the function of root is that absorption of water and minerals, and now you can get clear idea that absorption of water and minerals is actually carried out by these root hairs. Okay, so see here I will again revise this point, but for neat point of view you should know the sequence of the regions on the root, and those sequence is first the region of meristematic activity, then the region of elongation, and then the region of maturation. In another word, region of maturation is present toward the base of the root, while the region of meristematic activity is present towards the apex of the root. Okay, and in between these two regions there is another region. That region is called as the region of the elongation. Next point, that root hair. What is the function of root hair? So root hair is the function that is absorption of water and the minerals. Okay, from which part this root hair arise, or from which region on the root hair arises? So these root hairs arise from the region of maturation, and root hairs are formed from some special cells, and those name of that cells are called as the epidermal cell. Those cells are called as epidermal cells. Okay, so here you have to know the main important part, that is the function of the different regions of the root. So first region of meristematic activity we have given the function, that is cell division. Region of elongation function is increase the length of root, while the cell maturation or the region of maturation, in that the main area is the region of the root hair, and the function of the root hair is the absorption of water and minerals from the soil. And the root cap is a structure, it is not a region, and this root cap is present at the apex of the root, and the function of root cap is it gives protection to the apex part of the root. Okay, now again see here how we can observe the different regions on the root. So see here, in this portion we call as a region of meristematic activity or region of meristematic, where there are thin walled cells which has very dense protoplasm, and these thin walled cells which are present here, this region we call it as a meristematic region. These newly formed cells then get shipped towards this region, that is called as region of elongation. So all this group of cells which is present in this region get shifted तो वर सरकला जातो. ते नवीन सगळे सेल जिथे तयार झालेले आहेत, जे थिन वॉलड आहेत, डेन्स प्रोटोप्लाझम आहेत, हे सगळे सेल कुठं ढकलले जातात? वरच्या साईडला, ज्याला आपण म्हणतोय रिजन ऑफ इलॉंगेशन. आणि हे सेल जे रिजन ऑफ इलॉंगेशन मध्ये आल्यानंतर या सेलचा आपल्याला काय पाहायला मिळतो? शेप चेंज झालेला पाहायला मिळतो. ते तुम्हाला इलॉंगेटेड पाहायला मिळतात. हे सेल वर शिफ्ट झाल्यानंतर त्यांचं साईज, वॉल्यूम, सरफेस एरिया इन्क्रीज होतो. अँड सच अ सेल बिकम इलॉंगेटेड हिअर अँड दॅट्स वाय दिस रिजन इज कॉल्ड ॲज रिजन ऑफ इलॉंगेशन. आणि इलॉंगेटेड सेल त्या ठिकाणी रूटची लेंथ इन्क्रीज करण्याचं काम करतात, म्हणून आपण म्हणतोय त्याला रिजन ऑफ इलॉंगेशन. त्यानंतर आपल्याला काय पाहायला मिळतं? these elongated cells from the region of elongation again get shifted upward in the region of maturation. त्यामुळे इलॉंगेटेड सेल आपल्याला इथून इथं शिफ्ट झालेले पाहायला मिळतात की जिथं आपण नाव दिलेलं आहे रिजन ऑफ मॅच्युरेशन. आणि या रिजन ऑफ मॅच्युरेशनमध्ये हे इलॉंगेटेड सेल काय होतात? तर मॅच्युर होतात आणि डिफरन्शिएट होतात. मॅच्युर होतात म्हणजे त्यांच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला काय पाहायला मिळतं? त्या सेलची ग्रोथ स्टॉप झालेली पाहायला मिळते. इथं हे एकदा इलॉंगेटेड सेल गेले की त्या ठिकाणी त्यांची कोणतीही डिव्हिजन होत नाही. दॅट सेल बिकम मॅच्युअर आणि आफ्टर मॅच्युरेशन दे गेट डिफरन्शिएटेड बिकॉज देर आर डिफरंट टाईप ऑफ टिश्यू विल बी फॉर्म फ्रॉम दिस मॅच्युअर सेल्स. मे बी सिम्पल टिश्यू, मे बी परमनंट टिश्यू. आणि असे वेगवेगळे टिश्यू तयार करण्यासाठी त्या सेलचं काय होतंय? डिफरन्शिएशन होते, डिफरंट ते ग्रुप तयार करतात आणि त्याला आपण म्हणतोय रिजन ऑफ मॅच्युरेशन. या मॅच्युरेशन रिजनमधून आपल्याला हेअरसारखं स्ट्रक्चर तयार झालेलं पाहायला मिळतं, त्याला आपण म्हणतोय रूट हेअर्स. अँड दीज रूट हेअर्स आर फॉर्म फ्रॉम द इपिडर्मल सेल अँड द फंक्शन ऑफ द रूट हेअर इज absorption of water and the minerals from the soil. Okay, so from this point, which two parts are important for theoretical point of view? So first point is that if there is a question asked that draw a neat label diagram of the regions of the root, then we have to draw this diagram of the regions of root. This diagram may be asked for the MCQ, that is identify the correct labeling of the regions of root. So you have to also prepare this diagram for the NEET point of view. कारण यामध्ये तुम्हाला कुठल्याही एका ठिकाणचं लेबल आयडेंटिफिकेशनसाठी नीट एक्झामला विचारलं जाऊ शकतं. ठीक आहे, हा झाला पहिला पॉईंट. त्यानंतर अजून एक आपल्याला महत्त्वाचा क्वेश्चन थेरीला हा विचारला जातो 3 मार्क्सला. दॅट इज विथ नीट लेबल डायग्राम डिस्क्राइब द रिजन्स ऑफ रूट. देन यू हॅव टू फर्स्ट ड्रॉ द डायग्राम ऑफ रिजन ऑफ रूट. देन यू हॅव टू डिस्क्राइब द डिफरंट पार्ट्स ऑफ दॅट regions of the root. So this is a question for 3 marks, that is describe the regions of root, and for 2 marks the question will be there, that is draw a neat label diagram of the region of the root. Okay, so here students we have completed another important point from the root part, that is the regions of the root. Now the next and last part of the root is that modifications of the root, because here we are going to study the again different modifications of the root, because in our previous lecture we have seen 3 types of root: tap root, adventitious root and the fibrous root. Okay, now the next part of it is the modifications of the root. Here we'll discuss the different examples as well as the structures of different types of roots which has undergone the modification. So next part is modification of root. So student, see here, as we have seen, root is the underground part, but not in all cases you can observe root same like of the tap root or the fibrous root or of the adventitious root. म्हणजे प्रत्येक वेळी तुम्हाला टॅपरूट किंवा ॲडव्हान्टेजेस किंवा फायब्रस रूट सारखं स्ट्रक्चर रूटचं पाहायला मिळणार नाही, कारण हे रूट जे आहे ते मॉडिफाय होतं. इट चेंज इट्स शेप, इट चेंज इट्स स्ट्रक्चर. समटाइम्स रूट ऑफ द प्लांट change its shape, change its structure. Why? Because it has to perform different function. Like for which function the root get modified? म्हणजे टॅप रूट, ॲडव्हान्टेजेस रूट किंवा फायब्रस रूट ह्या तिन्ही रूटपेक्षा वेगळं रूट तुम्हाला पाहायला मिळतं. आणि वेगळं रूट का पाहायला मिळतं? कारण त्या रूटला एक स्पेसिफिक फंक्शन कॅरी करायचं असतं, त्यासाठी ते रूट वेगळं तुम्हाला पाहायला मिळतं. मग कोणतं फंक्शन? सीएल. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, फॉर फूड स्टोरेज, फॉर सपोर्ट और फॉर रेस्पिरेशन. रूट तुम्हाला मॉडिफाय झालेलं पाहायला मिळतं. कशासाठी? कोणकोणत्या फंक्शन कॅरी करण्यासाठी? फॉर फूड स्टोरेज. काही रूट्स असे प्लांटचे असतात की ते सॉईलमधून जे फूड ॲब्सॉर्ब केलेलं पाहायला मिळतं ते त्यांच्या बॉडीमध्ये स्टोअर केलेलं पाहायला मिळतं, आणि त्यामुळं तुम्हाला काय पाहायला मिळतं? त्या रूटचा शेप टोटली तुम्हाला चेंज झालेला पाहायला मिळतो. सो फॉर फूड स्टोरेज रूट शोज मॉडिफिकेशन. ओके. सेकंड वन, सपोर्ट. काही रूट्स तुम्हाला असे पाहायला मिळतात की जे ॲडिशनल सपोर्ट त्या प्लांटला देतात. सो फॉर सपोर्ट that root get modified. And the third function is the respiration. Some roots are always present in wet soil, that's why they cannot get proper oxygen for their respiration. That's why these roots again shows additional modification which provide oxygen to them. That's why these roots are called as modified roots, particularly for the respiration. म्हणजे मला तुम्हाला इथं सांगायचं आहे की पर्टिक्युलरली फूड स्टोरेजसाठी आणि सपोर्टसाठी आणि रेस्पिरेशनसाठी तुम्हाला रूटमध्ये मॉडिफिकेशन पाहायला मिळतं, की जे मॉडिफिकेशन मी तुम्हाला काही जनरल एक्झाम्पल वरून दाखवणार आहे. आता फॉर एक्झाम्पल आपण बघूया की तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना कॅरोट माहीत आहे, त्यानंतर रॅडिश यू नो, देन द बीट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड ॲज अ टर्निप. बीट माहिती आपण जे जेवणामध्ये खातो ते बीट, बरोबर आहे की नाही, जे रेड सेल कलरचं पाहायला मिळतं. सो दिस कॅरोट, दिस अ टर्निप or this radish, these are the roots. लक्षात घ्या, carrot, turnip or the radish, these are the roots, and these are modified because they store the food inside them. That's why for food storage these are the examples of the root like carrot, radish, turnip, they get modified. सपोर्टचं एक्झाम्पल तुम्हाला सांगायचं म्हणलं तर बनियान ट्री, वडाचं झाड सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे, आणि मराठीमध्ये आपण म्हणतो पारंब्या. वडाच्या झाडाला तुम्हाला अशा पारंब्या आलेल्या पाहायला मिळतात की ज्या पारंब्याला पकडून तुम्ही झोका घेऊ शकता, झोपाळ्यासारखा त्याचा वापर करू शकता. त्या पारंब्या जे मराठीमध्ये आपण म्हणतो वडाच्या झाडाला असतात, त्या पारंब्याला आपण म्हणतो प्रॉप रूट. Those parambya is called as a prop root. So these are the roots and these are developed on that banyan tree for give ॲडिशनल सपोर्ट टू दॅट बनियान ट्री. म्हणून सपोर्टसाठी तुम्हाला हे प्रॉप रूट किंवा मराठीमध्ये आपण त्याला पारंब्या म्हणतो, डेव्हलप झालेल्या पाया मिळतात, जे एका पिलरसारखं खांबासारखं काम करतात. त्यामुळे तुम्ही कितीही वेट घ्या किंवा ॲट ए टाइम 4-5 जण जरी एखाद्या पारंब्याला जरी लोंबकत राहिले तर ती पारंबी तुटत नाही, बिकॉज इट लुक्स लाईक द पिलर. इन डिटेल आपण परत पुढच्या लेक्चरला बघणार आहोतच, पण मला तुम्हाला फक्त सांगायचं आहे जी तुम्हाला माहीत असणारे एक्झाम्पल जे आपण रूटच्या मॉडिफिकेशनमध्ये इथं डिस्कस करत आहोत. त्यानंतर आपल्याला अजून काही एक्झाम्पल सांगता येईल. तुम्हाला स्वीट पोटॅटो सुद्धा माहीत आहे. स्वीट पोटॅटो ज्याला मराठीमध्ये आपण रताळ म्हणतो, किंवा आस्पारगस एक औषधी वनस्पती आहे ज्याला शतावरी असं मराठीमध्ये नाव आहे. तर हे स्वीट पोटॅटो अँड द आस्पारगस, दीज आर ऑल्सो द रूट विच आर मॉडिफाईड बिकॉज दे स्टोर द food, because they store the food. Okay, now we have already seen prop root as an example for the support mechanism, and the third example is the rhizophora. Rhizophora ही अशी वनस्पती आहे, असं प्लांट आहे which grows in the swamp area. दलदलीच्या जागी जिथं सॉइलमध्ये पाणी आहे आणि त्या पाणीमध्ये सॉल्ट आहे, अशा सलाइन सियर. When the salt is present inside the soil, then that वॉटर इज कॉल्ड ॲज अ सलाईन वॉटर. असं सलाईन वॉटर असणाऱ्या सॉईलमध्ये काही प्लांट ग्रो होतात. सच अ प्लांट ग्रो नियर द कोस्टल एरिया, समुद्रकिनारी तुम्हाला अशी झाडं पाहायला मिळतात की जी झाडं सतत पाण्यामध्ये बुडलेली पाहायला मिळतात, वॉटर लॉक कंडिशन पाहायला मिळते. अशा वेळी ते रूट सतत पाण्याखाली असल्यामुळे प्रॉपर ऑक्सिजन त्या रूटना मिळत नाही रेस्पिरेशनसाठी, आणि मग रेस्पिरेशनसाठी ऑक्सिजन मिळवण्यासाठी ह्या रूटवर आपल्याला काय पाहायला मिळतं, या जमिनीवर परत तुम्हाला अपवर्डली डायरेक्टेड काही रूट्स पाहायला मिळतात. त्याला मिळतं न्यूमॅटोफोर. ते रेस्पिरेशनसाठी उपयोग पडतात. कन्फ्यूज अजिबात होऊ नका, कारण मी तुम्हाला जनरल आयडिया सांगितलेली आहे मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ रूटची. नेक्स्ट लेक्चरला आपण टॅब्युलर फॉर्ममध्ये एक्झाम्पल आणि त्याचं एक्सप्लेनेशन इन डिटेल बघणार आहोत. इथं फक्त एवढंच लक्षात ठेवूया की रूट्स ऑफ द प्लांट शोज मॉडिफिकेशन फॉर फूड स्टोरेज, फॉर सपोर्ट अँड फॉर रेस्पिरेशन. रूट आर नॉट ऑलवेज of the three types, that is tap root, fibrous root and the adventitious root. Other than these three roots, there are some additional roots you can observe, and these are mainly called as a modification of the root. कारण बेसिक रूटचे तीनच प्रकार आहेत जे आपण कालच्या लेक्चरला शिकलेले आहोत. टॅप रूट, ॲडव्हेंटिशियस रूट आणि फायब्रस रूट. पण हे तीन रूट सोडून अजून काही रूटचे टाईप आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतात. त्याला आपण कशाच्या अंडर घेतलेलं आहे, मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ रूट. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये मी तुम्हाला आता एक्झाम्पल सांगितली, बीट, कॅरोट, रॅडिश, स्वीट पोटॅटो, asparagus, then banyan tree, then maize, sugar cane, as well as there are some examples like rhizopora. हे सगळे एक्झाम्पल्स आपण टॅब्युलर फॉर्ममध्ये या टायटलच्या अंडर डिस्कस करणार आहोत. सो इन टुडेज लेक्चर वी हॅव सीन the regions of root, and then just the introduction of the modification of root we have discussed here. Okay, thank you.